It seems like you can hardly watch anything on TV these days without seeing a political ad.
They call him Senator Spineless because Dean Heller bends with the political winds, first promising to vote against the plan to repeal Obama.
In some of these ads, Democratic Congresswoman Jacky Rosen has been accusing her opponent, Republican U.S. Senator Dean Heller, of flip-flopping on the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare or the ACA. Heller voted against the federal health care law in 2010 when he was in the House, but his record on repealing and replacing it is a little more complicated. Last year, at a press conference with Governor Brian Sandoval, Heller said that Senate Republicans' repeal and replace bill was, quote, simply not the answer.
Not the answer. It's simply not the answer.
The vote Heller is referring to here is a vote to open up debate on the repeal and replace bill that passed the House. Sandoval was the first Republican governor to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act in 2012. Heller said he was concerned about the cuts the Senate's repeal and replace bill would make to funding for the program in Nevada. With Heller a firm no on the motion to proceed, other moderate Republicans expressing serious reservations about the bill's cuts to Medicaid, and several more conservative Republicans saying the bill didn't go far enough in repealing the ACA, Senate Republicans returned to the drawing board and decided to delay a vote until after the July 4th recess. A second draft of the bill released in mid-July didn't fare much better and was quickly dead in the water after 4 Republican senators said they would vote no. A straight repeal bill faced the same fate as well. That's when President Donald Trump invited senators to a lunch at the White House to talk about health care, where he goaded Heller over the repeal and replace efforts. You've probably seen this clip used in attack ads.
Look, he wants to remain a senator, doesn't he? Okay. Any senator who votes against starting debate is really telling America that you're fine with Obamacare.
A few days later, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced that the Senate would vote to open repeal and replace up for a debate, though no one knew what bill they'd actually be considering. At this point, Heller had not said how he would vote on whether to open debate. Minutes before the vote, Heller announced he would vote in favor of the motion. With Heller in support, the vote to open debate succeeded 51-50. Vice President Mike Pence broke the tie. Over a series of votes over the next few days, Heller rejected the Senate's repeal and replace proposal and rejected a repeal-only bill that mirrored a 2015 bill he had supported. He also signed on to a proposal put forward by 2 Southern senators to keep in place most of the taxes from the ACA, but instead send the money to the states in the form of block grants. Some healthcare policy experts criticized the measure, saying it would actually reduce Medicaid funding over projected levels in the long term. But Heller's office contended the proposal would result in Nevada receiving more funding for Medicaid than it currently does under the Affordable Care Act. In either case, the measure never came up for a vote last summer or in September, when the idea was briefly brought forward again. Back to the votes. Finally, in the early morning hours of July 28th, Heller voted in favor of a so-called skinny repeal of the ACA that would have gotten rid of the law's individual mandate to purchase health insurance, among other provisions. Skinny repeal was also considered a vehicle to get to conference committee, where lawmakers could hash out a final version of the bill that both the House and the Senate could agree on. The skinny repeal failed, though, and with it, the attempts to repeal the ACA that summer. That is, until the Senate finally passed a repeal of the individual mandate as part of its tax reform bill several months later in December, with Heller again in support. So did Heller, quote, flip-flop on repealing and replacing the ACA? Rosen says yes. Heller has called it a, quote, media-driven narrative. Heller did say he was going to vote against the motion to proceed before doing so a little more than a month later, but he also expressed specific concern with the cuts to Medicaid, which weren't included in the skinny repeal he voted for, though they technically could have surfaced again in conference committee. For more on the U.S. Senate race and other election coverage, check out thenevadaindependent.com.